Hello there, people of the internet. I'm not even sure if this massive behemoth of a rifle is even getting all on camera right now. I may have to back up a little bit to go ahead and show this off. But this is something that I've shown off on the channel before, but it was a long time ago whenever I had like, I don't know, 20, 30 subscribers. And the video was not very well done. Not only that, but this is now a complete rifle. Well, let me tell you guys a little story behind this rifle and myself, and I'll give you guys a little bit of history behind these rifles in general. So I picked up this rifle off of Edelweiss Arms, I believe, a long time ago, and the reason I picked it up from them was because they were selling this one in particular really cheap. It is in particularly rough shape, and it was incomplete whenever I had gotten it. And the one thing that made it incomplete was the fact that we were missing a front sight. So whenever I had originally made my video on this rifle, the rifle did not have a front sight on it. So I was just kind of shooting in the wind and hoping that I hit whatever it is that I was shooting at. During the past, I don't know, several years at this point, there's been a pretty tremendous ammo shortage. And 7.5 Swiss ammunition is not something that is easily found, but my local gun store just so happened to have some in stock, so I was like, you know, I have a rifle that actually shoots that, but I have no ammunition for it, so I'll go ahead and pick up the ammunition that they had there. So I picked up the ammunition that they had there, and then while I was browsing the old, you know, internets and whatnot, I just so happened to come across a front sight for this thing. And I was like, you know, I have a rifle that is missing a front sight, and that just so happens to be the front sight that I need for that rifle. So I went ahead and I picked up the front sight as well. And now I'm here with ammunition and a front sight on this rifle that I haven't used in, you know, years at this point. I have no idea when it was that I published the video whenever I had originally shot this thing. I ran one box of 20 rounds through it, and I have no idea where those rounds went. Somewhere downrange, I'm sure. This rifle not having a front sight on it definitely made it a little bit more on the difficult side to actually make any kind of hits on target. So here I am now with a front sight, now with some ammunition. Let me go ahead and tell you guys a little bit about this rifle in general. So this rifle is actually a pretty cool little rifle. This particular rifle is a pretty cool little rifle. Well, I say a little. The damn thing's probably about as tall as I am. This rifle is a pretty sweet rifle. Let me give a little history. In 1886 or 1888, I forget which one, the Swiss ended up adopting a long gun that used a semi-smokeless powder round. It was not quite black powder, not quite smokeless powder. It was somewhere in between. And then later on in the years, they discovered, or they realized, or they came to the decision that they wanted a full smokeless powder round. So I think it was in 1896 whenever they finally went around to adopting that full smokeless powder round. They made it a little bit longer so it couldn't accidentally be inserted inside of their semi-smokeless black powder rifles. If you were to like really jam one in there, then you could make it work, but for the most part, as long as you're not trying to force something in there that shouldn't be in there, you're not going to have any trouble behind it. But this new completely smokeless black powder round, or completely smokeless powder round, became the 7.5 Swiss, the GP11 round. I think that is what it was designated as. But in 1911, I believe it was 1911, since the designation on the rifle is the K11 or Model 11 or whatever it is. In 1911, they did a little bit of reconfiguration with their rifles, and all of their older pattern 1896 rifles were actually set up to the same standards as their newer modern K11 rifles, which was the model of rifle that the Swiss were going to at the time. This right here is one of those reconfigurations from the 1896 rifle to that new configuration of the K11 rifle. I know that this is a very clear giveaway for these rifles. I'm smacking the tree. God, this is a long gun. There's actually a pistol grip that was not originally on the 1896 rifles that has been added on whenever it was reconfigured to be the same configuration as the K11 rifles. Pretty much identical guns, with just a few little tune-ups, upgrades, whatever it is that you want to call it, the pistol grip being one of them. Now, I am not an expert with these rifles. I do not necessarily have all of the history on these things 100% down pat. That is mostly because I specialize in firearms that were used in warfare, And this right here is one that was not used in any wars because the Swiss remained a neutral country in the First and Second World War for the most part. However, that also means that these rifles are oftentimes in very good shape. So after 1911 and their development of a rifle that is basically identical to this one right here was configured to be that new rifle. World War I happens, and in the 1930s, Switzerland is noticing that all of these other countries who have these nice long, huge rifles are reconfiguring what they have to be lighter, shorter, handier carbine style rifles, which is why they adopted the K31, I believe that's a designation for that. Shorter receiver, shorter bolts, they completely redesigned a lot of different things with it. Shorter barrel, it was a lighter weight, it was handier, it was smoother, easier to operate, easier to disassemble, easier to manufacture, maintain, just an all-around better gun than the old style that they were running. Now, let me show off the size of our bolt here. This thing is absolutely massive. It is just a straight pull rifle. It has a built-in camming system in it. And this thing looks like it is designed to absolutely be able to handle the end of the world and a half. Now, I am still yet to fire this thing since I put the front sight on it, and this is a tall front sight from what I read in the description of the people that I had bought it from. So I'm assuming that we're zeroed out to 100 yards since the battle zero on these rifles is 300 yards or meters or something like that. But I'm not positive about that. So what I'm actually going to do is, just like whenever I do all of my other testing, I'm going to lean against this tree to get as much stability and accuracy as possible and aim for the middle of my steel silhouette. And we're going to see if we make a hit on target. Now, whenever I shoved this front sight onto this rifle, I very literally just kind of bashed it in there. I had a hammer, and this front sight has obviously been off for a long, long time. Like probably, I don't know, a century at this point, that front sight has been gone. So I bashed that front sight on with a hammer, and I got it relatively lined up, just kind of used my eyeball. I did the best that I could. But I mean, I was brutal with it. Like I was straight up smashing that thing like I was 14 years old at my girlfriend's house, and their parents were at home. I was, my buddy said that I was giving it a CIA style hand job. I was so rough with it. But I did get the front sight on. I got it lined up. Luckily, whenever they manufactured this rifle, they left a little notch showing me where the center is on our front sight post, assuming that I didn't bend anything out of whack while I was beating this thing like I was, never mind. But I was very violent with it. So hopefully we have it lined up where it needs to be. I'm going to go ahead and just send around downrange. We're going to see if we're hitting left, right, high, low. If we are hitting any of that, I'll be able to readjust. Like I said, battle zero is 300 meters. I believe the Swiss were using meters at this point. And front sight, it was classified as tall, so I'm pretty sure it's going to stick us out to a 100. But honestly, it is way better than the lack of front sight that I had before. Now, I'm pretty sure that these rifles hold 5 rounds, or no, not 5 rounds. They hold 6 rounds of ammunition, and they fed from a really unusual looking kind of compressed cardboard stripper clip. Well, I have 5 rounds of ammunition, not 6, and that's just what I have, so you guys will have to get over that. This is Hornady 7.5 Swiss, and 7.5 Swiss ammunition is not the easiest to find. I mean, if you do find it, it is quite expensive, so this is one of those rifles that I wouldn't exactly go plinking with on a normal occasion. Oh yeah, I could definitely fit another round in there. Hell, I could probably fit another round in there, push that down, and fit a 7th one inside the chamber. So now we have, goddamn, this 150-year-old rifle, 140-year-old rifle is giving me some trouble with its magazine. All right, I think I got it. Now we have this rifle loaded. We're not chambered, just because I want to do this. I want to chamber it the right way. Anyone who's ever ran one of these old Swiss straight pull rifles knows just how comfortable and fun it is to pull this rifle back or pull this bolt back and slam it forward. Oh, that was nice. Well, we are officially chambered. Where's the safety at on this thing? I can't remember. Actually, I'm pretty sure the safety is the actual sear no, not sear, the actual, what would you call this back here? The actual caulking piece. The actual caulking piece turns, and that right there is the safety, I believe, just like the Mosin does and the Arasaka does, etc., etc. Alright, I'm going to lean against the tree. You guys will not be able to see me fire my first shot, but I want my first shot to be nice and stable. We're sitting at about 40 yards. I'm going to see where we're hitting down on that target. Assuming that that's a tall sight and we are around 100 meter mark, so we would be shooting just a hair high, but we'll find that out whenever I pull the trigger. Now this thing has not been shot in quite a long time, a good number of years, and whenever I did shoot it, it was not much. Okay, well, we sent a round downrange. I'm still alive, but I have no idea where that round went. So we did not hit our target. Maybe I was hitting high. I'm not sure. Like I said, this did say tall, so maybe it's not actually tall. I don't know. We might still be zeroed out to 300 yards. Now I'm going to try aiming a little bit lower, and we're going to see if we hit our target. I'm going to save my brass for this thing because it is Hornady brassing. It is reloadable. I'm so used to using bolt actions. Every time I close this thing, I got to push it down and lock it in place. But I'm like, no, that's not what we do here. Okay. All right. We at least saw some crap and debris go flying, and I was aiming pretty low at the ground. So I'm fairly certain that we're hitting either left or right. Okay, well, in classic fashion of me doing what I do, I will come out with like just a handful of rounds, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna use this to zero the rifle. We're gonna make a video on it. It's gonna be great. I'll have some ammunition left over so I can, you know, do something else with it, you know, another comparison video or another fun time, or show it off to my friends, especially whenever I have ammunition that I cannot find on a regular basis. So I spent about 3 rounds figuring out where this thing was hitting. We are hitting pretty low still, so I think that our front sight, our tall front sight, is a little too on the tall side. So we are hitting a little bit low by like 4 inches. It's not exactly the end of the world, but at the same time, I did give this front sight a good bashing. So after spending those rounds figuring out where it was that I was actually hitting, I came to the conclusion that I did not have enough ammo. So I went back to my house and I grabbed a few more rounds of 7.5 Swiss ammunition, and now that I know where we're hitting, I'll know to aim just a little bit higher on our targets, and we should make our hits just fine. Let's send a round at the steel silhouette. Well, at this point, with how broken apart the steel silhouette has become, it is no longer a steel silhouette. It is now literally just a piece of metal. All right, I must have hit the crap underneath it. I've got 3 rounds left in this magazine. I'm gonna aim just a hair higher at our steel, and we're gonna see if we hit it this time. All right, I'm pretty sure that we hit it that time. I see a new dark spot on the steel, so I think it's a safe bet to say that we hit it. Okay, so I guess I have to aim over the steel in order to hit the steel. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay, I figured out where we're hitting. We're hitting basically dead center now. I just, like I said, I have to aim over the steel. In order for me to hit the steel, I can't see the steel because with where I'm aiming, the gun is covering the steel. So I'm just kind of guesstimating on where it is that these rounds are going to be going. But you know what? Let's go ahead and raise the elevation a bit, and that should fix our problem. Let's set us out to 400 meters or yards or whatever it is that these guys were using at the time. All right, I have one last round. Let's go ahead and see where it is that this one's hitting. All right, okay. I think that was better. I think that was better. Okay, I was aiming at the mid, and it looks like we hit the crap down below. So we went from being like several inches of several inches under our point of aim to being more like 2, maybe 3. So that's good enough for me. You know, growing up, I knew somebody who had one of these old rifles, and whenever they said that's a Swiss Army rifle, I just got into my got it in my head that it was like a Swiss Army knife where it was a rifle, but it also had all different sorts of other tools attached to it and whatnot. And I was like, that's so cool. What else can it do besides being a rifle? He was like, what the hell are you talking about? It's just one of those things I remember from these old Swiss guns. I had to find me a sporterized one and turn it into like a Swiss Army knife, Swiss Army rifle kind of thing. Have just attachments all over it. I think that would be a lot of fun. Okay, well, I went ahead and I stuck a paper target out there so I could see where my rounds were actually hitting, make sure we don't have any tumbling rounds and whatnot. That was whenever I discovered that we were in fact hitting a little bit low. But after shooting at the steel and getting used to it and bumping up our rear sight just a little bit, we seem to be much more on target than I previously anticipated. At least we're not off in the windage. We seem to be right where we want to be hitting for windage. I'm just kind of shooting offhand, but we seem to be still hitting the steel plates, although some rounds are hitting a little bit low, but we have the elevation problem solved at this point. Or at least solved enough for sending lead downrange. My goodness, we have entered the point of life, the time of the year where it is like below freezing in the morning, and then it starts to get like humid and boiling hot in the afternoons. It is definitely toasty out here now. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad that my Swiss rifle finally has a front sight on it. There were several times where I came across ammunition for this thing, and I was just like, nah, I don't even have a front sight on it. I can't, use it. But in this particular case, I could just feel it. I was at my gun store and I saw it there, and I was like, you know what? I could just feel that I should get some ammunition for that old Swiss rifle. And then whenever I got it, like 2 days later, I was just browsing the interwebs, and I was like, well, I'll be damned. That is a front sight for my Swiss rifle. See, originally, whenever I got this, I tried finding a front sight for it. I couldn't find one to save my life, and et cetera, et cetera. You know how that song and dance goes. They don't exactly sell 1896/11 front sight Swiss rifle front sights at Walmart. So I couldn't exactly just find one and pull one up and have it shipped to my house. It was just dumb luck that I came across this one. So now that I had my front sight, I was like, well, I have the front sight, I have the ammo. Been a while since I made any kind of content on this rifle. Let's bring it out and see if we actually make any hits on target downrange. And lo and behold, we made our hits on target. Like I said, we're firing a little bit low with our 300-yard zero, but bump it up to 400 and we're good to go. Now, that being said, hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this stuff, subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, like the video. Description down below has a link to all sorts of stuff, including an email sign-up list. That is my just-in-case situation, in case this channel decides to go up in smoke and disappear. Okay, I think I've earned a bite to eat and something to drink. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day, and thanks for watching. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.